Welcome back to the Schlocky Horror Picture Show. Attack of the Killer Shrews, also known as Killer Shrews, was the brainchild of Texas millionaire Gordon McLennan. Born in Paris, Texas in 1921, would go on to win a nationwide political essay contest, attend Yale University where he studied Far Eastern languages, work for the campus radio station, and served as business manager for the Yale Literary Magazine, all before the US got involved in World War II. After the war, he bought an interest in a radio station and built up a following for his live baseball game broadcasts. Having built up quite a name for himself as a pioneer in the radio field, McLennan now turned his attention to film, a regrettable decision for producer and audience alike. He and his family owned several drive-ins and theatres. Like many drive-in owners discovered, their outlets for screening films were considered the bottom of the barrel by the pretentious lot in Hollywood, and many in Tinseltown tried their darndest to keep their films out of the drive-in chains. This only led to drive-in owners taking the next logical step. They financed their own films. In 1959, McLennan financed 3 films: The Killer Shrews, The Giant Gila Monster, and My Dog Buddy, none of which are remembered as sterling examples of cinematic skill, if they're remembered at all. James Best, known far and wide as Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane on television's original Dukes of Hazzard, plays Thorne Sherman and captains his own ship. Sounds pretty cool, but sadly it isn't any bigger than the SS Minnow, and the only person he has to boss around is Rook. He's a glorified gopher, delivering supplies out to Dr. Craigus on his island. Sherman is a man's man, which by 1950s terms means he drinks like a fish, smokes like a chimney, has an appreciative eye for the ladies, and is ready for a fist fight on a moment's notice. The kind of simplistic brute we are gradually evolving away from. A little too slowly, if you ask me. His Honour, Judge Henry Dupre, plays Rook Griswold and looks like he could have played that title role in that live-action Fat Albert movie. Hey, hey, hey! He's Sherman's sole crewman, although the two seem to share a real friendship rather than a bossy captain-abused crew dynamic. Poor Rook is the first person to bite it in The Killer Shrews, or more accurately, the first to get bitten. Repeatedly, as a matter of fact. In this way, this film helps strengthen the stereotype of the token black character becoming the first victim in horror films. You may think films like Night of the Living Dead and Alien were breakthroughs for the token black character in American horror, but a pessimist might say they simply get more screen time before they get killed off. Baruch Lumet plays Dr. Marlowe Craigus. He may not seem like much, but he fathered one of Hollywood's greatest producer-directors, Sidney Lumet, famous for 12 Angry Men, Failsafe, The Pawnbroker, and Dog Day Afternoon. Speaking of dogs, he also directed that all-black musical The Wiz starring Diana Ross and Michael Jackson. Well, nobody's perfect. Anyway, Craigus says he hails from Sweden and has come to the island of the Killer Shrews to further his scientific work, but you and I know that it was to keep his sexy daughter out of the Swedish porn industry. Craigus wants to shrink people, or at least slow down our metabolism so the Earth's resources will last longer when overpopulation becomes a big problem. I think a bigger problem might be the smarmy foreign scientists who screw around with Mother Nature. Swedish-born Ingrid Guda, a former Miss Universe, plays Anne Craigus, Dr. Craigus's sexy daughter. She claims to be a zoologist, which is about as convincing as Nicole Kidman playing a brain surgeon. Though to be honest, I wouldn't mind checking out her knowledge of biology, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. Anne serves no purpose here than to scream on occasion and to provide Captain Sherman with a new first mate, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. Ken Curtis, another famous redneck, plays Jerry Farrell, part of Dr. Craigus's research team. Curtis was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers in 1981 for his performance as Festus in almost 300 episodes of Gunsmoke. Jerry's vital role in this mission is whining, cowering, boozing it up, and generally being a waste of skin. He despises Sherman from the beginning, probably because he recognises that Sherman is much more of a man than he will ever be. I wouldn't get too attached to Jerry if I were you. Gordon McLennan, the Texas millionaire responsible for this mess, plays Dr. Radford Baines, another one of the scientists helping Dr. Craigus with his work. This guy is really devoted to his work. In fact, he can hardly think of anything else and walks around muttering things like hematoxic syndrome. Hematoxic syndrome. His last moments on Earth are spent devoted to science and furthering the understanding of mankind, instead of doing something really important like trying to get laid or run away. Unknown actor Alfred De Soto plays Mario. Despite the Italian name, Mario is apparently Mexican. He's most likely a servant of some kind, though his main duty seems to be as a device to advance the plot. Whatever he does, it doesn't involve too much physical labour, as Mario's midsection seems to be expanding faster than a balloon. He isn't around much, just long enough to say things like, "Si, signor," "No, signor," and "Ah!" It also explains why the Shrews ran out of food. Mario doesn't look like he was missing any meals. Attack of the Killer Shrews gives real meaning to the phrase low budget. Filmed on a mere handful of sets and featuring scene after scene of people talking, often with their back to the camera, with little in the way of action, and one could easily dismiss this as pure manure. The fact that the giant shrews are played by dogs in drag, when they're not being represented by clumsy puppets, one could not be blamed for turning up their nose at this movie. If there is a saving grace, it's the short running time. So, yes, there's lots of boring talk, but there's also enough monster action to satisfy fans of such schlocky goodness. Besides, I shouldn't have to explain how funny it is to watch somebody scream in terror at a collie wearing carpet remnants when the dog is rolling over on his back, obviously expecting a belly rub. And it's with that thought in mind, we now return you to the carnivorous canine creepiness that is Attack of the Killer Shrews.